Dear traveler, the day is done. Everything it asked of you, you gave. Every task, every obligation, every moment that needed your attention and your energy and your presence. All of it finished now, behind you, in the past where it belongs. And now there is only one place left to go tonight. You already know the way. The mountain path, the cold night air on your face, the two great stones ahead with the warm amber light glowing between them. Your feet finding the path without any thought because they have walked it before, and they know where it leads, and they know what is waiting at the end of it. Merlin is waiting. Step through the two great stones. The cave opens around you. The warmth arrives immediately. The crystals on every wall alive with scattered amber firelight. The mountain above pressing its patient weight down through everything. The fire burning in its stone circle, and Merlin across it, in his place. His staff beside him, his old hands in his lap. He looks up when you sit down. And tonight, before you have even settled, he tells you. Tonight, he says, I'm going to tell you about a king's last dream. He pauses. The greatest king the old world ever produced. I was there the night he slept his last sleep. I sat beside him, and something came to him in that dream that I have never told anyone. Until tonight. Until you. Before Merlin begins, if this story brings you peace tonight, please subscribe to Medieval Sleep Tales. New episodes of Merlin's Cave of Tales are waiting for you there. Now breathe with me. Breathe in slowly. The cave air cool and ancient, filling you completely. A fire warm on your face. Hold it gently for just a moment. Now breathe out, long and slow. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands open. Let the last of the day leave you on this breath. Breathe in. The crystals are alive with amber light on every wall. Breathe out. The mountain is holding everything above you tonight. Breathe in. The fire is warm and steady between you and the old wizard. Breathe out. You are ready. The dream is about to begin. Merlin looks into the fire. It was a long time ago, he says quietly. Long before this cave. Long before I had anyone to give it to. But I remember every detail, as if it were last night. Merlin is quiet for a moment after those words, as he always is before the story finds its beginning. The fire between you burning its steady ember, the crystals on the walls holding their light, the mountain breathing its slow ancient breath above, and Merlin going back, further back than he has gone in any story he has told you before, past the sleeping village, past the unicorn, past the night the stars came down, all the way back to the thing he has been carrying longest, a last night of Camelot. It was autumn, he says, the kind of autumn that announces itself honestly, cold in the mornings, the light different from summer, lower, more golden, the shadows longer earlier in the afternoon, the trees on the hills around Camelot turning, not all at once. The way things that are true never happen all at once. One tree here, then 3 on the far hillside, then a whole valley of them. The kingdom changing color slowly, the way old things change, with patience, without drama. I noticed it more that year than any other. I do not know why. Perhaps because some part of me already knew. The body always knows before the mind. The old part of us that has been reading the world longer than the thinking part has existed. That part knew. And so I noticed the autumn, every day of it. The way you notice things you understand, you will not see again. The fire gives a small sound, a coal settling. Arthur had been unwell for some weeks, Merlin continues. Not dramatically, not in the way of someone whose illness announces itself and demands attention, in the quiet way, the way certain things end, slowly, the way a fire goes down not in a single extinguishing but in the gradual lowering of the flame until one morning you come to it and you understand that what remains is coals and the coals are cooling. He was still himself. That is the thing I want you to understand about those last weeks. He was still completely himself. Still the king, still the man, the quality of him unchanged, simply quieter. The way a fire is most completely itself in its coal stage, when all the performance of the early burning has finished and what remains is simply the truest heat. We sat together most evenings. In the throne room, not at the round table, in the chairs by the fire at the far end, the two of us, the way we had sat in 100 places across the years, in forests and in fields and in other people's halls, and in this hall, always the same 2 chairs pulled slightly toward each other. Always the fire between us. Always the particular quality of silence that belongs to 2 people who have known each other long enough that silence is not empty between them. Dear traveler, feel what it is to sit beside someone you have known your entire life. The particular silence of that, not the silence of strangers, or the silence of people who have nothing to say. The silence of such deep familiarity that words are simply one option among many, and not always the necessary one. The fire between you. The chairs pulled slightly toward each other. The evening doing what evenings do, simply ending. On the last evening, Merlin says, he asked me something. We had been sitting in our usual silence, the fire lower than earlier, the candles in the hall burning their late-hour amber, the castle quiet around us, the servants gone, the knights, those who remained in their own quarters. Just the two of us in the two chairs by the fire, the way it had been so many times before. He said, without looking up from the fire, he said, Merlin, do you think it was worth it? The cave is completely still. The fire holds the question. The crystals hold it. The mountain above holds it. Worth it. I knew what he meant, Merlin says. He did not mean the battles. He did not mean the cost in the ordinary sense. He meant the idea, the round table, the belief that something better was possible. That men could sit as equals and make decisions together, and that this was worth building and worth protecting and worth the full cost of a life given to it. I looked at the fire for a moment before I answered. Then I said, yes. He nodded, very slightly. The nod of someone who has received confirmation of something they already knew, but needed to hear from the right person. And then he said, good, and he looked back at the fire. And we sat until the last candle went out. And then I walked him to his chamber, and he slept. Breathe in. The cave holds the weight of that last evening. Breathe out. The fire between you is the same amber as every fire these two men ever shared. Breathe in. The mountain has been standing since before Camelot existed. Breathe out. It will be standing long after, as will the idea. The cave is warm around you. The crystals are doing what they always do, holding the light, giving it back. The mountain pressing its patient weight above. The fire in its stone circle burning its honest coals. And Merlin across from you, his old face in the amber, the face that was there on that last evening in the throne room, that watched the last candle go out, that walked the greatest king the old world ever produced to his chamber door, and said good night, and meant everything that word can possibly contain. I went back to the throne room, he says, after I had seen him to his door. I went back and I sat in my chair by the dead fire in the dark hall for a long time, not thinking exactly, simply sitting. The way you sit in a place that has been full and is now empty, and you need a moment with the fullness before the emptiness becomes the new truth. The round table was there in the dark. I could not see it. I could feel it. The way you feel large old things in the dark. Their presence independent of the light. I sat with it for a long time. And then I went to his chamber door, and I listened, and he was already sleeping. And I went inside, and I sat in the chair beside his bed, and I watched over him, the way I had watched over him since he was a boy. One last time. The chamber was quiet. The way the chambers of sleeping people are quiet when the person sleeping is sleeping well. Not the silence of difficulty. Not the restless silence of someone fighting their way through the night. The deep quiet of someone who has put something down before sleeping. A weight, a question. The question, perhaps, the one he had asked by the fire and received his answer to and sat down and gone to sleep. Simply quiet. He fell asleep quickly, Merlin says. That surprised me. I had expected the night to be difficult. The kind of night where the body is tired, but the mind will not follow. Where you lie in the dark, and the thoughts come, and you meet each one, and release it, and another comes. I had sat through nights like that with him before. Many of them. Sat in the chair beside his bed, and watched him fight his way to sleep while the kingdom's weight pressed down on him through the dark hours. This night was different. He was asleep within minutes of his head meeting the bolster pillow, deeply asleep, the breathing slow immediately, the hands open on the blanket above him, the face completely still, the expression of someone who has received the answer they needed, and the answer has been enough. Yes, it was worth it. Enough. Feel that for a moment. Something you have been wondering about. Something you have been carrying. And someone whose answer matters telling you, yes, it was worth it. And the receiving of that answer being enough to carry you immediately into the deepest sleep. No fighting, no deliberation. Simply the answer received and the body believing it, and the sleep coming the way sleep comes when there is nothing left to hold the eyes open. Your eyes are heavy now. You may have noticed this. The cave doing what the cave does. The fire, the crystals, the mountain, the story. All of it working together on the part of you that has been holding itself open since this morning and is now in the presence of something that is telling it, yes, it was worth it. You can let go now. Not yet. The dream is coming. I watched him sleep for some time, Merlin continues. the candle on the bedside table burning its amber, the window showing the dark autumn night outside, the castle quiet around us. And then, perhaps an hour into the night, his expression changed. Not distress, something else. The particular change of expression that happens in the faces of people who have entered the dream. Not all dreams announce themselves this way. Most leave the face unchanged. But certain dreams, the deep ones, the ones that come from somewhere further down than the ordinary night brings, those dreams show in the face. The eyes moving behind the closed lids, the mouth relaxing from its sleeping position into something that is almost a smile, almost a ghost of an expression rather than the expression itself, as if whatever was coming to him was too large for the face to fully register. I leaned forward. "I have certain abilities," Merlin says simply. "I will not explain them. You either know this about me or you accept it on my word. One of them is this. If I am close enough to a sleeping person and the dream they are having is vivid enough, I can see it, not as they see it from inside. From outside, the way you watch a fire and see the shapes in it. The shapes are real. They are in the fire. But you are not in the fire. I watched his dream from outside, and this is what I saw. The cave is completely still. The fire at its deepest red. The crystals holding their amber. The mountain above holding everything. He was young. In the dream, he was young. Not the age he was in the bed beside me. The age he was when I first knew him. When he was still learning what he was going to be. Before the kingdom. Before the round table. Before the weight of it. Simply a young man who did not yet know the full size of what was coming toward him, and was therefore not yet carrying it. He was standing on a hillside I recognized, the one above the valley where we spent the first years, where I taught him. Where he learned the things that cannot be taught in halls or from books. The hillside where the old oak stands that we sat under more times than I can count. The view from it across the valley, the river below, the hills beyond, the sky above. He was simply standing there, looking at the view, and the view was extraordinary. Dear traveler, close your eyes with the king now. The hillside, the valley below, the river catching the light, the hills stretching to the horizon, the sky above with its old colors. The dream colors, the ones that have no names, because the things they belong to no longer exist to be named. The colors that are deeper than the colors of the waking world, more itself. The way things in dreams are sometimes more themselves than they are in waking life. Feel the hillside beneath your feet, the old earth, the grass, the roots of old things beneath the surface, the view stretching out in every direction, all of it there, all of it present, the full extent of a world that is beautiful in its ordinary way, and that you have been living in and moving through, and sometimes forgetting to see for what it actually is. Simply beautiful. He stood there for a long time, Merlin says, in the dream time, which is different from the waking time, slower in some ways and faster in others. He stood and looked, and the valley looked back at him. And then the oak tree was there, the old oak, the one from the hillside above the valley. It had not been there a moment before, the dream placing it where it was needed, simply there, ancient, its roots above the earth, the way old oaks show their roots, its canopy spreading above, its bark deeply furrowed and dark. He walked to it, and he sat beneath it, the way we used to sit. Merlin is very quiet for a moment, the fire between you, the cave breathing. And then I was there too, in the dream, beside him, under the old oak, on the hillside above the valley, the way we had been so many times. Two people and a tree and a view, and nothing required of either of us. Simply there, breathe in. The old oak is above you in the dream. Breathe out. The valley is spread below in its dream colors. Breathe in. The hillside is solid beneath you. Breathe out. Nothing is required. Simply be there. We did not speak for a long time, Merlin says. In the dream as in life, the silence between us had never been empty. It was simply the silence of two people who had said most of what needed to be said across the years, and were content now to simply be in the same place at the same time. And then he said something. In the dream, he said, "Look," and he pointed at the valley below. And I looked, and what I saw in the valley I have never forgotten. And I have never told anyone until now. Merlin looks at the fire for a long moment, the cave completely still around you, the crystals on the walls holding their amber, the mountain holding its ancient patience above, the fire holding the question that part two left in the air. What was in the valley? What Arthur pointed at? What Merlin has been carrying alone since that night in the king's chamber, while the candle burned its amber and the autumn dark pressed against the window. The valley, Merlin says slowly, was full. not full of anything you could name immediately, full the way dreams are full, with a quality of presence that the waking world produces only in its very best moments. The moments that you know while they are happening that you will remember them. The moments that the body recognizes as significant before the mind has processed what it is seeing. I looked at the valley and I felt it before I understood it. And what I felt was this. He pauses. Every good thing that Camelot had ever produced was there. The words sit in the cave, not the people, not the knights or the kings or the queens or the servants or the builders or the farmers who fed the kingdom, not the specific individuals, something else. The thing that the people had made between them across the years of the kingdom's existence. The thing that you cannot touch or name precisely, but that you can feel when it is present and feel the absence of when it is gone. The goodness. Every act of fairness ever performed under the Round Table's law. Every judgment given honestly. Every person protected who would not have been protected without the kingdom. Every child who grew up in a village that was safe because Camelot was there. Every year of peace. Every harvest brought in without fear. Every ordinary life lived ordinarily because extraordinary people had built something that made ordinary life possible. All of it in the valley, visible as light. Feel that image now. A valley full of light, not the light of the sun or the moon, the light of accumulated goodness. The light that good things make when enough of them are gathered in one place, warm, without a single source, simply present from every direction simultaneously, the valley glowing from within, every blade of grass, every stone in the river, every tree on the hillside catching it and giving it back, the light of a life well spent. Arthur saw it before I did, Merlin says. He was already looking at it when he said, "Look," already seeing it. And the expression on his face, the one I had seen through the closed eyelids, the almost smile, the ghost of an expression too large for the face to fully contain. I understood it now. From here on the hillside beside him under the old oak, I could see his face, and I could see what was in the valley, and I understood what the expression was recognition. He was looking at everything his life had made and recognizing it, not with pride exactly, with something quieter than pride, something that pride is a shadow of. The feeling that comes when you see clearly that the thing you gave your life to was real, that it existed, that it mattered, that the valley is full of light because of the choices made at the round table and the law upheld honestly, and the ordinary lives protected across the years of the kingdom. The light was real. He had made it, and he could see it. Dear traveler, think for a moment about your own valley. Not Camelot, yours, the valley of your own life. The small and large things you have done that added something rather than taking something. The kindness given when it was not required. The patience held when it was difficult. The times you showed up. The ordinary faithfulness. The small protections. The things you gave that no one saw and no one counted, but that mattered to the person who received them. Your valley has light in it too. You may not be able to see it from where you are standing. The view from the hillside in the dream is different from the view from inside the days, but it is there. The same light, made by the same process. Every good thing accumulated into the warm glow that fills the valley below the old oak on the hillside. It is there. We sat under the oak for a long time, Merlin says. In the dream time, long enough for the light in the valley to change slightly, not diminishing, deepening, the way the best light deepens as the day moves. The valley going from golden to amber to something between the two that has no name. The river below still catching it, the hills holding it, the sky above holding the dream colors that have no names. Arthur did not speak for a very long time, and then he said something else. He said, "It continues," just those two words. Looking at the valley, "It continues." I said yes. He nodded. The same slight nod as before the fire in the throne room. The nod of someone receiving confirmation of something already known from the right person. And then he leaned back against the old oak. And in the dream, he closed his eyes. The way you close your eyes when you are already in the right place and there is nothing more to do. And the warmth is present from every direction, and the valley is full of the light you made, and it continues. And yes, it was worth it, and the old oak is behind you, and the hillside is beneath you. He leaned back, and the dream deepened, and the valley stayed full. Breathe in. The valley is full of light below the old oak. Breathe out. It continues. Everything good continues. Breathe in. The hillside is beneath you. The oak is behind you. Breathe out. There is nothing more to do. Simply be here. The fire between you and Merlin is very low now. The coals at their deepest red. The cave darker than it has been. Warmer. The crystals above the alcove catching the last of the coal light and holding it in their amber. the mountain above completely present, the whole weight of it, patient, ancient, as it was on the night Merlin sat in the chair beside the sleeping king, as it was when Camelot stood, as it will be when everything else has changed again. The dream went on, Merlin says softly, through the rest of the night, the valley full. Arthur asleep against the old oak in the dream, the light not changing, simply there, the way the most important things are simply there without requiring attention or maintenance or the effort of remembering them. I sat beside him on the hillside in the dream, as I sat beside him in the chamber, both places simultaneously, the wizard and the king, under the oak, in the valley of light, one last time. The dawn came to Camelot the way all dawns come, without asking permission, without announcement, simply the quality of the dark changing first, the particular darkness that exists just before it is no longer darkness, the window in the king's chamber beginning to show its shape, the stone of the walls beginning to separate from the black, the chair beneath Merlin finding its edges again in the very first gray light, and Merlin in the chair, still there. He had not moved through the night, had sat through every hour of it in the chair beside the bed, the candle on the bedside table long since burned to nothing, the chamber cold now, the fire in the small hearth gone to dead coals, the blankets rising and falling with the slow, faithful breathing of the king, still breathing. The dream had continued all night, Merlin says. I had watched it through every hour, the valley, the light, Arthur asleep against the old oak on the hillside, with the dream colors above and the river below, catching the light and everything good that the kingdom had, ever produced present and visible and warm. The dream never darkened. That is the thing I want you to understand. In a long night of dreaming, there are usually shadows. The ordinary shadows of the mind, working through what the day left in it, the worries and the unfinished things, and the old regrets that find their way into the dream, even when you did not invite them. None of that. All night, simply the valley, simply the light, simply the old oak and the hillside, and the two of them sitting beneath it. The most peaceful dream I have ever witnessed, in a very long life of witnessing things. The cave is at its warmest now. You may have noticed this, the particular warmth that a cave achieves at the deepest point of the night, when the fire has been burning for hours, and the mountain walls have absorbed what they can absorb and are giving it back from every surface simultaneously. not the warmth of a direction, the warmth of an enclosure, of being inside something warm rather than facing something warm. You are inside the warmth. As the dawn came, Merlin continues, the dream changed slightly, not darker, simply different. The valley still full of light, the oak still there, but the light in the valley changing its quality. The way the best light changes when the moment it belongs to is almost finished, not less, simply shifting. The amber going to something paler, the gold going to something cooler, the dream preparing itself for what comes after dreams. Arthur stirred. In the dream he opened his eyes, still on the hillside, still under the oak. He looked at the valley one more time, the light in it still present, still warm, still the accumulated glow of everything the kingdom had made. And then he looked at me, and he smiled, not the ghost of a smile, the full one, the one I had seen on his face since he was a boy, the one that meant, this is exactly right. This is exactly where I am supposed to be. This is the thing itself, and I am in it, and I know it. He smiled, and then the dream ended. The fire between you gives its final small sound. The last coal settling its last fraction into the stone circle. The sound traveling through the cave floor, through the mountain below, into the ancient earth, the oldest sound, the sound of something finished. He woke briefly, Merlin says, in the chamber, not fully, the half-waking of someone surfacing from a very deep sleep who finds the surface pleasant and does not need to stay there long. His eyes opened. He saw the light beginning in the window. He saw me in the chair. He said, "You stayed." I said, "Of course." He closed his eyes, and he slept again. And I sat until the full light came through the window, and the chamber was fully itself in the morning, and the castle was beginning its day around us. And then I stood, and I looked at him sleeping, and I said, quietly, to the room, to the morning, to the valley of light that I had watched all night, it was worth it. And I meant every word. Dear traveler, carry that with you now, into the sleep that is waiting for you. The answer to the question you may not have known you were carrying. The one that sits in everyone who has been trying their best and wondering in the quiet moments whether it matters, whether the ordinary faithfulness adds up to anything, whether the small kindnesses and the daily efforts and the staying in the chair all night are worth anything in the larger account. They are. Your valley has light in it. You may not be able to see it yet. The view from inside the days is not the view from the hillside, but from the right height at the right time in the right light, you would see it. The accumulated glow of everything good you have done. Every ordinary faithful act, every time you stayed, it is there. It continues. Move to the crystal alcove. You are already moving. The story has been carrying you the way all the stories in this cave carry whoever needs carrying. The crystal alcove warm on 3 sides. The old wool waiting. The crystal ceiling above, catching the last coal light and holding it in the deepest amber. Lower yourself onto the wool, the familiar weight of it beneath you. The cave wall warm on 3 sides. The crystals above in their coal amber. Merlin visible across the dying fire. His old face, his hands in his lap. His staff against the wall. The face that sat in the chair through the whole night in the king's chamber and watched the valley of light and said yes and meant it. He is watching over you now. The same way, dear traveler, feel the full weight of your body on the ancient wool, from the back of your head to your heels, all of it. The weight of someone who has been trying their best, who has been faithful in the ordinary ways, whose valley has light in it, whether they can see it from where they stand or not. That weight is received now by the wool, by the cave floor, by the mountain, by the ancient earth below the mountain that has been receiving the weight of everything since before anything had a name. Your shoulders are flat. The crystals are above you. Merlin is across the fire. The valley of light is there. Even now, even here. Even in the dark of this cave in this mountain, at this deepest hour of this night, the light of everything good you have ever done is in your valley, and it is warm, and it continues, and it was worth it. Sleep now, dear traveler. The crystal cave will hold its light through every remaining hour of this ancient night. The mountain will keep its watch above you, as it kept its watch above Camelot on that last morning. Merlin will sit beside the dying fire the way he sat beside the sleeping king. The valley of light will be there when the morning comes, and the old oak will be on the hillside, and the river will be catching the light below, and everything good will still be there, because nothing real is ever lost. It simply becomes the light in the valley, and you are already on the hillside, already under the old oak, already looking at the valley, already seeing it, already home. Sleep now, dear traveler.